Hello everybody. In today's video I'm going to be demonstrating how to replace a high pressure power steering pump line, and I'll be demonstrating this on my 2002 Acura TL-S. Now the main reason I'm going to be replacing this line, and this is a common problem on most Honda and Acura vehicles as they get older, is it is leaking, and it usually leaks right where the rubber meets the metal, and I'll show you a clip of that. There's where it's leaking. Now replacing this power steering line is going to be very similar on all Acura TL and CL vehicles from 1999 to 2003. And it'll be a similar process to all other Honda and Acura vehicles, except on this car it's probably going to be more difficult. Mainly because this line is so long. It's one single very long line that goes all the way down and around to that back corner, and it loops around again. And because it's so long, it goes over the catalytic converter, and dropping the catalytic converter is usually what's required to make this job easy. And it's because those bolts on there are so rusted, that's what makes this a difficult job. On other vehicles, the line usually stops like right about there, and you can just kind of pull it out in one direction. It's a much easier job. So now we're going to quickly order some parts. We're going to come to AcuraPartsForLess.com, and we're going to select our vehicle, 2002 TL-S. Then we're going to come to Chassis and Power Steering Hoses and Pipes. And then here's the long pipe that we need to order. We're going to select number 4. And you'll see it comes with the O-ring, so you do not need to order the O-ring for the end here. However, we're going to come over to this power steering pressure switch, and we do need to order just the O-ring for that. So we're going to add that to the cart as well. And then we're going to come to Amazon, and we're going to order 3 bottles of Honda power steering fluid. You can also get these for less than $5 each at any Honda or Acura dealership, but on Amazon you can also get them for about $17.49. And so that's everything you're going to need. Let's get started. So the first step in this job is going to be draining the power steering fluid. And we're going to be doing this mainly just to not make a huge mess while we're working on this project. And first we're going to park our vehicle on some cardboard. Basically we're going to be turning the steering wheel left and right to drain all the power steering fluid out. And as that fluid gets out of the system, the power steering is going to lose its power, and the cardboard is going to make that process easier, less friction. And after we've got our car parked, we're going to drain the reservoir first. So we'll take off this little cap, and then using a turkey baster or a syringe or something, you're just going to suck out all that fluid from the reservoir, and you're going to put it in a drain pan. Next, we need to disconnect this return line. And you'll know this is the return line because this is a much bigger, fatter hose and a much shorter hose that leads straight to the power steering pump. So you know that fluid is going to be going in that direction. It's going to go all the way around and back here out the hose and into our drain pan. So when we turn on the car and turn our steering wheel, it's going to drain into there. So we're just going to take a needle nose pliers. We're going to move that little clamp back a little bit, and then you might need a pick tool or something like this, and you're just going to pry back that hose and take it off. Now we're going to take a piece of hose and we're going to put it inside the return line. Now the inside diameter of this hose is 7/16 of an inch. I was able to fit a piece of 1/2 inch tubing in there, and I'm hoping it holds. I've also got the clamp at the very end to hold this as securely as possible. The pressure here shouldn't be nearly as high as when it's being freshly pumped out of the pump. So I would imagine this would have no problem holding. And so we've got it in our drain pan, and now we're going to start the car, and we're going to turn the wheels all the way locking to the right, and then all the way locking to the left, and then bring it back to the center, and that should get all of the power steering fluid out of the system. Now we're going to start removing some of the clamps securing this line in place. And all you have to do is just follow the line back, and we can already see there's a line right here. So held in by a 10mm bolt. we're gonna remove that. So the easy part's over, now it's on to the hard parts. So we're gonna jack up our car as high as we can, and we're gonna continue on. So next we have to remove an electrical switch. Let's see here. Right down in there. That is the power steering pressure sensor, I believe, and we have to remove that electrical connector. To get it off, I removed the front passenger wheel, and you can get access to it right through there with the needle nose pliers. So next we have to remove a bracket. So just to give you an idea, we're on the passenger side still. This is our sway bar, and this is the frame. And then right above the frame is the first bracket. So you can see up above there's this big rubber hose that kind of goes all the way across. And then it's being held onto the bracket by the clip. We have to take our needle nose pliers and we have to push that little clip through so we can get access to the top of the bracket to remove the bolt. That should give us enough room to get your ratchet and a 10mm socket on there. And I'm kind of coming in through the left side of the vehicle a little bit now, kind of hard to see. There we go. And we should be able to remove that bolt. So with this bracket undone, we're going to follow the line to the left, all the way over, kind of follows down the frame, and then it'll make a 90-degree bend. And then there's one more bracket right here, and off to the left a little bit, you can see where my ratchet is. There's one more 10mm bolt, just like the last one. We got to remove that next. With all the brackets removed, it's now time to remove the end of this power steering line down here. And if you follow it up, you'll see that bottom blacker line. We have to remove that nut. And to remove it, we're going to need a 14mm pipe wrench. You'll see it's kind of like an open-end wrench, but instead it's got 6 sides to really grab that nut as best as possible. You'll need one of these, or else there's a high chance you're probably going to strip that bolt. So pro tip, if you ever need a breaker bar for a short little wrench like this, you can always grab a nice big deep socket like that, put your wrench inside, grab a couple extensions, and bam, you've got yourself a breaker bar. And this is the exact setup I used to break that nut loose. And once you break it loose with your pipe wrench here, you can then move on to the standard open wrench like this and remove that nut the rest of the way. Another thing you could try is taking a second wrench, putting it in the other end of the open side here, and then you can use that almost as a breaker bar too. And the very final step before removing this power steering line is going to involve removing these two 10mm bolts on top. They come undone pretty easy. And I've got some paper towels set up, and I'm hoping it's not going to make too much of a mess, so let's see here. Not at all. There we go. Now we will move on to removing this power steering line, the hardest part. So my thinking right now is we have to obviously get that curved part of our tube up and over that second tube that's still connected. So right now you can see my black disconnected tube. It's kind of on top. Kind of maneuvered it around, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like from the bottom. Here's what it looks like from the bottom. You can see we only have about an inch of workspace, but you can see it's almost out. Actually, that didn't even take a lot of muscle. There we go. So, oops, there we go. We got one of the hardest parts out of the way. Now we have to maneuver it out. So this is where we started, and this is where we're at. This is the catalytic converter. We're just above it at the moment. So what I did was, when I cleared this piece of plastic here, brought it out, I then kind of pushed the whole line towards the passenger side and kind of stuck it back in a little bit. And what I've been doing is I've been just kind of maneuvering the line up from the top. I've been pulling it through, while at the same time just guiding this line further and further and further towards the right. And I'm hoping that I can make a kind of up and out motion. So I've gotten to the point where it's like 3/4 of the way over that catalytic converter now, and also to the point where I've gotten this pressure sensor pretty much all the way to the top, and I wish I would have thought of this a little bit sooner, but I don't think it'll be a big deal. But I'm gonna remove this cross member bar. It's held in by 2 nuts on each side, one there and one there, and then there's a little cover right here. You push these 2 tabs back and you'll lift off the cover, and there's 2 more bolts in there, and then there may be some various stuff connected to it. There's a little zip tie right there, and again same thing, 2 bolts, 2 more bolts, and some various stuff connected to it such as that. So I'm gonna remove all that stuff and take that cross member bar out. And so we can see that we've got it a good maybe 3/4 of the way over this catalytic converter now. And before I go any further, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tie a piece of string to the end of it, so that way I'll know the exact path I need to take as I put it back in. So I've got that crossbar off, that brace or whatever it is, and that should give me some more working room. And I'm just gonna try and gradually work it the rest of the way up. I think I'm almost there. You can kind of see. Ooh, I think I might just got it. Ooh, I'm so close, everybody. Ooh, it's caught on that hose down there. I think I might need to go to the bottom and just kind of maneuver it around, and I'll be able to pull it out the rest of the way through the top. Got it untangled from the hose. And bam. We have officially removed, our high pressure power steering line. Woo, whoops, and we're leaking. Next, we have to remove this pressure sensor right here. And you're gonna need 2 17mm wrenches, and you're gonna take that off. With the pressure sensor off, we're just gonna remove this old O-ring. You might need a pick tool or a flathead screwdriver or something, and then we're gonna put a new one on. So now we're just gonna compare the old and the new power steering lines. Just make sure all the components come with it. You'll see it comes with the rubber components there. I had to switch the bracket over to the new one. We'll have to switch over the pressure sensor to the new one. Comes with the rubber part there, comes with this rubber sleeve here. And you'll also see it comes with a new O-ring, so you don't need to worry about purchasing or replacing that. And overall, I'm very impressed with the condition of this old power steering line. There's absolutely no rust on this main metal line here. Maybe a little surface rust on these areas, but other than that, lasted a solid 20 years almost and 317,000 miles. So I would just recommend spending the little extra money, get an OEM replacement line, and it's also going to be a perfect fit. So you don't have to worry about bending it like you would with aftermarket ones, and it's also going to come with these rubber holders and whatnot too. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. Let's put the pressure sensor back on and get this line back in. Before we put the pressure sensor back on the new line, we're just going to take a dab of power steering fluid and coat that O-ring. Then I'm just going to tie the end of my string here before I start guiding it back through, and we'll work on following that path all the way back down through there. So I've maneuvered the tube back under the car and over the catalytic converter, and this is the final maneuver I got to make to get it back in its original place. And I got it to this point in under 20 minutes. And once you take it out and you learn the path that it needs to take, it's a lot easier going back in. And it's especially easier with 2 people, because you can have one person up top making sure that the tube isn't getting caught on anything, and it'll slide right back into place. It was very easy. So let's get it the rest of the way back in. So with everything guided in place, we're gonna start with the hardest part and putting those threads back in before we continue any further. And so regarding these brackets, I wouldn't bother wasting your time trying to put those bolts back in because it is nearly impossible to do so with the tight workspace that you have in there. I might recommend using some zip ties. I got one right here, and then I got one on the other side over here as well. And I might recommend doing the same thing. They work very well. Before you attach this other end of the power steering line, just don't forget to coat that O-ring with a little dab of power steering fluid. And then the torque spec for these two bolts is 8 foot-pounds. And then we can attach this bracket on top after we torque those bolts down. Next we can reattach the electrical connector to the pressure sensor down there. Now we're going to reattach this strut crossbar, and we're going to tighten all 8 of the nuts attached to it to 12 foot-pounds. Then we can put our wheel back on, torque those lug nuts down to 80 foot-pounds, and just remember to put your car on cardboard because we're going to need to turn those wheels again in a second. Next, we need to reconnect our return line to the power steering reservoir. So we'll start by filling it up to the upper fill line, and then we'll put our cap back on, and we're going to start the car for maybe about 10 seconds or so. So we saw pretty much all of that fluid get sucked into the system. And so one more time, we're going to fill it up to that max fill line, start the car for about 10 seconds, and turn it off. And if you look on top, you'll also see a bunch of bubbles in there. That's all that air escaping out of the system. And so again, we're going to fill it up to the max fill line, and then we're going to get in the car, and we're going to hold the RPMs at about 2,000, and we're going to turn the wheel all the way lock to lock, left and right, multiple times to help bleed all that air out of the system. After doing that, we'll see it suck down a lot more fluid that time. It's about an inch below that lower level line. So again, it's just really just filling the power steering fluid level up, turning the car on, filling it, turning the car on, and we're going to keep doing that until it stops sucking fluid in, and hopefully until that noise starts to go away. So let's fill it up and do that again. Start it. Hold the RPMs at 2,000. We're going to turn the wheel multiple times. And from inside the vehicle, I don't hear any power steering fluid noise or any power steering pump noise. So that's good. Let's go see what it sounds like outside the vehicle. And I'd say that's pretty good. So one last time, we're just gonna fill it to the max fill level, and we'll just keep an eye on the level over the next couple days. And we are all finished. I just want to say thanks for watching. This job certainly was difficult, and so I hope this video can ease the process for all of you watching today. Feel free to check out the description. I'll be leaving more information, links to products, and timestamps down there. Also feel free to leave a comment or ask a question. I'm pretty good at getting back to people. And so again, thanks for watching, have a great day, and take care.